Yeah, I do this all the time. I have people look at what all 4 styles bring to the table. Those 4 styles were identified by Hippocrates over 3,000 years ago. They haven't changed. Nobody's found more or less than 4.
Hmm.
But those are the segments of your brain, and the brain can actually be tested for those functions. So we have a whole brain. But if you notice things you don't enjoy doing, and you recognize you can do those for an hour or two, and the better you've developed those, probably because you're a bold type, you probably went through school and learned organizer and relator behaviors, the reserved behaviors, right? Bold types come out of the school system well-rounded. Why? Because you learn 2 skill sets that you wouldn't have learned if you didn't have to. And then you get out of that system, away from the conditioning, and now you get to develop your truth. Now you get to develop your bold self. And so you become well-rounded. Where the introverted types go through an introverted school system and they come out black and white. I'm right and you're wrong. They don't have the well-roundedness.
Yeah.
So there's a benefit to being conditioned if we understand what the effect of it was and how to get away from it. If we understand how to use that conditioning effects as tools and then claim our truth. I was conditioned to the introverted styles, both of them. I just a flip of my truth. My truth is, using the core vernacular, I'm a commander entertainer. I like accomplishing things, getting things done, and I love bringing people into the mix to make it happen, right? That's that combination. I was conditioned to relator organizer, the double introvert. But now they're developed. Those are bikes I learned to ride really well. I can still ride the bikes, right?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
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 So you never unlearn to ride those bikes once you learn to ride them. So it's actually becomes beneficial when you know that those are tools. That's not who you are. It's where you are, and you can choose something else.
As a parent, this is flashing in my brain right now. So for me, yeah, you mentioned about school. I did not fit well in school. It just was not for me. I got out of it as quickly as I could. Didn't finish college. All of that, right? And thankfully, I've had a good life despite rejecting that core institution. But or maybe my thought goes to my kids. So like my oldest kid, who's 8, he, to your point about like core self, like he seemed to be, he seems like his core self, and I see it is this bubbly, vivacious, bold type. And I don't know where, because we don't put him in traditional school. We have him in extra, and it might be my wife and I unknowingly, as first time parents, placing some conditioning on him to make him seemingly a bit more shy, introverted. He's doesn't like to meet new people all the time, or it's very awkward for him, and all of that. So my brain is going to, I get how I went through that. And it took me till my 20s or whatever to say, hey, you know what? I didn't need to do all this stuff I was being told. And look, I'm doing fine. How do I get that? How do I meet my kid where he is, my oldest son where he is, and help him find his core self at 8, 9, 10 years old without the ability of him taking, a high level assessment?
That's an awesome question, and I'm glad you're asking it as a parent. Because when we are aware as parents of what our children's core nature is, we can then support it. We can encourage it. We can inspire it. We can give them some tools for the life they're going to have that is not in alignment with their core nature. So going through traditional school, you say is not going into a traditional school, which is probably good if it's a more hands-on experiential kind
Yeah,
of
it is.
school. Perfect. That's wonderful for him. But in the process of trying to manage the behaviors of our children, if we aren't taking the time to sit down and explain to them why this is important and how it benefits them, right? Then, especially the bold types, they're not going to take it. They're going to rebel against it. And so, just knowing that you have a bold child, and that bold child is going to flourish if you give him the right support. So little commanders, for example, is he more serious or is he more people-oriented? Is he more task-oriented or people-oriented?
I would say task.
Okay, so that means he leads with commander. And the way you manage little commanders, and the problem with commander children is by the time they're 2.5, 3 years old, they think they can run the show and they want to,
Yeah.
right? It's my way. I want to do it my way because it's that leadership nature. It's that natural accomplishment and moving into a leadership role. Well, at 2 or 3, we know as their parents, they can't run the show, right?
Yeah.
So what you do is you redirect that energy. You don't shut it down. And that's what most parents do. They shut it down. Who do you think you are? You can't run the show, right?
My son says now, like, you're trying to rule me. And I'm like,
There you
no.
go. There you go. There you go. And understand you will never rule him,
Right.
because if he feels like you're trying to rule him, he's going to resist. What you do is you understand he loves accomplishment.
Mm.
Give him projects to do. My little grandson, when he was 3 years old, the way I got him to behave all day long is to he helped me wash dishes. He watered the plants, and the way I got him to water the plants is told him they were animals in a zoo, and he's watering the animals in the zoo. As long as he had a project to do that he felt like he was accomplishing something, he was a happy little camper. And I see it all the time with commander children.
Yeah. So soccer has been his most recent thing. Again, he's 8. And he's playing in a league locally here, and he's dominating.
There you go.
He's
There you
scoring
go.
but here's the thing. So he's scoring like 3 goals a game. First game, he scored 5 of the 6 goals for the team. And my wife and I both have this instinct to be like, I'm glad you're proud of yourself. But what's important, I'm cringing as I say it. Like, what's important is how hard you worked, right? But and it is, but at the same time, for him, it sounds like what I'm learning right now is he's hearing diminishment of the accomplishment.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, how do I support it without maybe I don't need to, but without making it like if he doesn't accomplish something that he feels like he's less than or he's not enough. You know what I mean? Like, how do I support the accomplishment knowing that he may not always accomplish, and if he doesn't accomplish, then he's going to feel less than, or do I just have to let him live?
Well, life itself is such that there are parts, there are compartments, there are areas of life that we excel in and areas that we don't. And when we look at if we can have the energy around where we excel and the wisdom around where we don't, so what you want to give him is wisdom where he doesn't excel. So it's wonderful that you have this skill, and look how much you've achieved, and that's awesome. Never shut that down. Life, there are going to be things in life that because you're a bold kid and because you're an achiever, there are going to be things in life that are going to frustrate you. Commanders, patience isn't one of their virtues.
Yeah.
And it's why commanders are driven to achieve. That drive doesn't align with patience. Drive and patience are two different things. So he's going to learn and understand that there's going to be areas of his life that will require patience. And that's all right, because learning patience, developing patience is an achievement.
Yeah.
It's an achievement, right? So if we condition things that are challenging and that aren't fun, as if you master that, you have achieved something awesome, right? He's achievement oriented. He's goal directed. If you make challenges an achievement, overcoming or mastering challenges an achievement, you're directing him in a way that he's going to be an awesome adult.
Yeah, going to the cycle of energy, the law of abundance, the positive application, and the open receptivity, negative open receptivity. I can see where a lot of us have issues with being good receivers. Like at his age right now, he doesn't have that issue for himself.
No.
He's got this application, positive. He's practicing all the time, and I score goals. Like that's what I get. I'm good at that. When I say to him what I've been saying, which is, that's great, congrats. It's really, the real important thing though is that you're working hard. I'm teaching him how not to be a good receiver.
That's right. That's exactly right. You're saying you're feeling good about this, and I feel good for you, but always negates what came before it.
Yeah, stifling his cycle of abundance. Hey, I'm glad I met you, so now I can reverse this trend. It's funny to me and interesting. 5 years before this book comes out, Law of Abundance, The Law of Attraction, The Secret, Esther Hicks, Rhonda Byrne, all that came out, and I just exploded. Movies and Esther Hicks is Abraham Hicks or whatever, that whole thing. What is it about the Law of Attraction that is different from, distinct from the Law of Abundance, and or how does it incorporate? So just make the distinction or integrate the Law of Attraction with the Law of Abundance.
The law of attraction is one piece of the abundance formula. It's one piece of the energy formula. It is assuming that you already are responsible, disciplined, and courageous. You're already sending out positive energy, right? Active energy. You already have a clear goal, and the only thing that's preventing you from getting what you're envisioning getting is that you're not open to receiving. So what the law of abundance does, the way it's presented, is it gives you an openness. It helps you to be more open to receiving if you can authentically do that. Now, affirmations don't do that. The reason affirmations don't do that, unless they're yours, if they're yours and you own them, yes, they're wonderful. But if there's something somebody's handed to you and say this, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy, right? But the assumption is if I open that, if I'm receptive to getting what I want, then I'll get it. That the reason it works for only about 3 to 5% of people and 95% saying it doesn't work by itself. It doesn't work without all 7 pieces of the formula. And the 7 pieces are you, the generator, active, receptive, courageous energy out, a clear receiver, the goal, the intent, the way you show up in the world, and an open line back. It's not just the open line back, it's all of it. And then between all of that, you have to, what supports all of that is those what I call insulators: faith in self, faith in other people, faith in a generative force, something bigger than you in life, right? You have to have those too. And what often happens is people will get on that law of attraction path, and for a little while, they're open. Their openness is there, so things start happening, and then something happens. Life shows up, and there's a challenge, and now they shut down that open receptive line, right? Because one or more of the receivers are not in place. They don't have faith in themselves. They don't have faith in other people. They don't have faith in something bigger than themselves. So that challenging moment, that moment when things don't go like they thought they would, that flow is still flowing, right? They lose hope. They lose trust. They lose confidence because those insulators aren't in place. They're not insulated from the things that happen in life. And so if that 5% that it works for has everything else in place already, they just lacked. So these are people who work hard, who have goals in mind, who are willing to be responsible and disciplined and courageous on an average, just across the board. That's how they live their life. And what prevents them from getting what they wanted is either the receiver's not clear enough, they don't have enough clarity around what they're after, or they don't believe that all that hard work is going to return to them in kind. One of those 2 things is missing, right? Where then they start looking at the law of attraction, and the law of attraction says all you have to do is believe, anything you can conceive and believe you can achieve, right? And they're going, okay, I'll just believe I can get it. Well, that might open up that receptive line that's now shut down with the rheostat's turned way down. That might open that line back up, and then they do start to receive. But that's a small percentage of the population. If, however, you're one of those people, it's one of the stuck paths, what I call the stuck in delusion. That path is a receptive. So the energy you send out is receptive. I'm praying, I'm hoping, I'm dreaming, right? That's a receptive energy out. I'm not taking action. I'm not being courageous. I'm hoping and dreaming. And
2 negative nodes on the battery.
And praying, right, exactly.
Right.
And so they're sending out receptive energy and to a non-clear goal, and they're receptive to receiving something back, but because if you're not sending out anything, you're not going to get anything back. That that path moves people steadily toward the negative abundance. And negative abundance is hoping, dreaming, praying, and not doing, right? Not having a clear goal and being resistant, angry, and frustrated, and railing against life because you're not getting the results you want. That's leading you in the wrong direction. That's a negative path.
Wow. Yeah, the big thing as we talk through all of this, the big thing that like it just jumps out at me about the ownership, owning it, that clear goal, that phone number clear goal, like not just the numbers, like, oh, I know all the numbers, but the numbers sequentially in order, and boiling that down to, claiming ownership for, I in my mind, I'm just making this distinction. Like, I want this, I'm going to go get it. It's going to happen here. I'm going to have it there, but I have it now. Like I'm claiming it now. This is what I'm going to do. And there's positive action toward that. And then you set a date in the future for where you're actually going to have it in hand. $100 million in Switzerland or Sweden or wherever it was that you had mentioned. Switzerland makes more sense in that context. Wow. This might go along with personality, but I want to touch on your area of genius. So you said we all have one area of genius.
Right.
Are there a finite number of descriptions for what the areas of genius are, or are they uniquely 8 billion different areas of genius around the world?
Well, I don't think there's 8 billion kinds of genius. But oftentimes we don't see our genius because it's not obvious. So my genius is seeing patterns. I see patterns, and I know how to take those patterns. I'm good at researching. I can be talking to somebody on the phone, and they're asking me about something that I don't have a clue, but I know how to go find it.
Sure.
And I'm on Google finding answers for them, and they think I'm brilliant. They think I'm a genius because I'm a genius at researching, right?
Your genius is being a genius.
My genius is being a genius at researching. And so I see patterns and I'm good at researching. Those are my areas of genius. And
Thanks for watching. If you want to see this entire episode, just click or tap here. If you want to see another clip from this channel, click or tap right here.